Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Aimee Champion, and she's going to tell us about her near-death experience. Hi, Aimee.
Hello. I'm so honored to be here and to have the opportunity to share this.
Thank you for coming.
I don't talk about it often, but I'm not closed about it. So when the opportunity arises, I'd like to jump on it. I had a near-death experience on January 9th, 2009, and it resulted from losing too much blood during a pretty extensive surgical procedure. At the same time that happened, I sustained a brain injury from the lack of oxygen to my brain because of the blood loss. So I've lived this sort of dual path of brain injury recovery and the spiritual side and a change in my understanding of ego and spirit. So it's been a ride for sure.
Your sound's just a little bit off. I don't know.
Oh. Let's see here. Unmute. Is that better at all?
I think so.
Okay.
No, it's not. Maybe if you sit forward, I don't know if it helps. Because it seems like it comes and goes as you move.
Okay, that might be. I'm still
that's better. Okay.
Managing my voice.
Thank you.
So I guess the big points to me around this experience are one, when I went into my surgery, I went in absolutely identified as an atheist. And I had professional and academic and personal identification as an atheist. I had academic scholarships for my atheism. I would speak out at political events.
You mean they gave scholarships for that?
The American Atheists, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it a free ride? I mean, what are people getting?
No, it was a small portion.
Really?
It offset the cost of books.
Okay, when I went to college, I knew they did, if you were a lesbian,
mm-hmm.
they come to our class one day and say, if you're a lesbian, fill out this form and you get some kind of help.
Yeah.
Well, I'm married, I got kids, I don't think I could pass. Go ahead.
I was at a Jesuit university. So the university gave me a diversity scholarship, and then the American Atheists gave me a scholarship to cover books. So they paired nicely. I was definitely odd in my class. That's for sure. So, I had really been, carrying an atheism flag and really set in my beliefs that there was no afterlife, that there was nothing beyond our experience in our human form. And then when I had the near-death experience, it blew all of that out of the water. And I came back pretty squarely identifying as experiencing Buddhism, although it took me several years to research why what the difference in my belief system was, to be able to articulate that it was Buddhism. I had not been raised with religion at all. And so, of course, I had heard of Buddhism, but I hadn't studied it. I didn't know what it was.
Was there something about your experience that made you lean in that direction?
Absolutely. The experience itself, I had a life review. I had telepathic communication with, I don't know. Some people would say it's a God. Some people would say it's angels. It was entities, multiple entities. And they took pieces of the life review that in my human form, I would identify as very traumatic, and showed me like a flip side of the coin. And my understanding shifted to this idea of energy and balance and alignment. And that though it was traumatic and negative in my human identification, in the grander scheme of things, it was filling a very needed role in the experience of others, which would then come back and impact me in positive ways.
Can you walk us through it from beginning to end so we understand exactly what you experienced?
I don't know. I'll
Okay.
try.
Okay.
So I definitely had the tunnel feeling, although it was not, it didn't feel highly structured. It felt very embracing, and as though I was going through this expanded hug tunnel toward light. The visual perception of it was fading from black to white, and the light is so brilliant. There really aren't words to describe how pure and magnificent and white. I mean, like almost clear white the light was. That's the best I can describe it. I've not found words, and when I've listened to other people who've experienced the light, they seem to struggle too. Like it just evades how we describe things.
Can you remember your first thoughts in the tunnel?
My first thoughts were, am I dead? Where am I going? And then, whoa, this is okay. And then I had like this sense of excitement and curiosity, which doesn't surprise me at all. I'm an endlessly curious person. So I was definitely requesting feedback. I was definitely saying what's going on, what more is there. The arc of my initial thoughts ended with this overwhelming question of, okay, have I learned enough? Like I was okay with death in that moment. I was not afraid in any way. I felt like it was a welcoming home. And so I was consumed with this question of, oh, but did I do enough in my life? Did I learn enough? And this overwhelming sense of laughter from multiple entities occurred, and the response was very much nurturing. You haven't taught enough. So that was pretty shocking, because I've never identified myself as someone who was a teacher prior to this experience. And so then I went into my life review, and it was definitely this simultaneous, what I was saying was bad, the transgressions that I had made toward other people, and the transgressions that I had received from other people were valueless. There was no value, no positive, no negative, just necessary, just part of a bigger picture that was comforting and made a whole lot of sense. And so I think that's when I really started to identify a segregation between soul or spirit and ego and human incarnation. And that, the roles that we play in our human form are just very small parts in the global sense of oneness.
What was your first thought? Do you remember when you first got in the white light?
Just overwhelming sense of belonging, unconditional love, for sure. This idea of unconditional love made perfect sense, and that has not left. I in my life post NDE, life these days is traumatizing. I don't care who you are or what your privilege level is. We're just all collectively traumatized, I believe. So this idea of unconditional love has led me in my post NDE life. I'm just not afraid. I don't have anxiety anymore. I used to have generalized anxiety disorder, and that's completely gone. I have no fear. I have only a sense of belonging, and that belonging includes everyone around me.
Did you see anything else in the bright white light time period other than just the light?
Just the light. It was so all-consuming. Just the light.
So what was the telepathic like?
So I have visual imagination of what it could have looked like, but I don't commit to that because it truly was a telepathic. I was thinking, and responses were coming back to me. And it was all in my cognition, right? It was not a visual or a touch sensation. It was all, or even auditory. It was all in my brain. So telepathic is like the best word I can find to describe it. I assigned that experience as being a bellowing male voice, echoed by more feminine sounding voices. But again, it was thoughts, definitely thoughts. One thing that does go from that tunnel light experience and then through the whole NDE that continues in my life today is that time sort of felt like it was warping. And now I just have a terrible sense of time. I have to have external sources of timing to keep me going through my day. If it's music or a news program, or I'm looking at my watch constantly, I can't keep a sense of time. If I didn't have a calendar, I wouldn't know what day it is, for sure.
What did your family think of you going from atheist to Buddhist?
Well, my biological family, my family of origin, they're just accepting and don't really want to talk much about it. They love me and accept me. And
Are they atheist?
They are, yeah. Yeah. And so, they're not being super judgmental or argumentative about it. And so that to me is a sign of respect. Definitely I was raised to fight with our beliefs, right? And talk about why atheism is still the truth. So that's a sign of respect. We're good. We're good if we just don't.
No, what do you call the place you were in? I mean, I assume it's not heaven to you since you're not Christian. I don't know.
No, I don't. I mean, extra human, right? Like just, it's the universal. I don't name the place. I'm not sure that place really exists at a spirit level. I'm not sure time exists at a spirit level. It's just sort of outside of these constructs that we've created in humanity. That we, right? Like if you are Christian or Jewish, or if you're believe in a monotheistic approach, then it would be those gods or God that created humanity, created Earth. I don't believe that, but I do believe that collectively we are practicing individuality and incarnating.
What was the telepathic voices telling you?
That I needed to teach, and that I was okay, and that I would always be okay. That all of the struggles that I had experienced in my human form were a function of this bigger reality.
Who do you think that voice was? What do you assign to that?
I don't know. I would love to say I would love to say Buddha, but I'm not. I don't know. Aren't we all part of Buddha, right?
I don't know anything about Buddha. I'm a Christian, so that's why I asked. Like, I don't, I know my thought process and my reasoning of my NDEs, and then here's you, and you don't assign all that to it. So I'm just curious what you do make of it. Like who's that voice to you? Like,
I believe in spirit. I believe that our spirit, it's saying my internet connection is unstable. So
okay.
If we drop off, I'll log back in.
Okay.
Buddhism is making sense to me now, but not because I went and read Buddhism and said, oh, that makes a lot of sense, I'm going to adopt that belief system. But because when I am working around in my life as a human, and things are goofy and I need to figure them out, I'm arriving at these Buddhist principles. And that is, ego is a function of our humanity. And that's what propels us. That's That's how we're able to function as individuals. But then in reality, beyond our humanity is our soul consciousness. And it's a universal, and it's a one. We're all a part of that. Why we organized into human beings or dogs or trees or rocks, I don't have the answer for that. I understand that Christians believe that God created those things. I would be more apt to say that we're all a part of that creation.
So did you have the typical gifts that near-death experiencers talk about? Do you feel like you come back like different?
I'm a healer, yes. I practice Reiki, and I happened upon it. That's actually what got me started investigating Buddhism. So I have this brain injury, and I have a lot of other resulting neurological damage, including pretty significant pain issues. And so I started, the atheist in me, the logical rational in me was saying, mind over matter. People say it's possible. If it's possible, I can do this. So I started playing with this idea of my brain controlling the pain. And it just got so much bigger and bolder, and I was able to help other people with pain. And so then I started researching what is this beyond mind over matter? Because my mind shouldn't be able to control their mind. There's something more going on beyond rational control of one's body.
How did you help people with their pain through that Reiki?
Reiki. Mm-hmm.
Reiki.
Yeah, and a lot of it's an ancient tradition, and many different spiritual traditions practice. So I practice a Buddhist version of it. We call it Reiki. It's offered in many U.S. hospitals as healing touch. It's the same thing. It's not massage, it's not touching, but it's a working with the energy just outside the physical body. And it's not that I'm doing something to people, it's that I'm helping their energy align within their body.
How does a person's energy not align with their body?
Oh boy, anytime toxic foods, substances, emotional. Have you ever walked into a room and you can just feel there's like a funkiness about it? That's the energy. And that's people's energy. They're not holding their own, right? They're putting it out into the room. They're very angry. They're very depressed. Whatever their emotion is, it's really big and you can feel it. It's palpable. That's the energy that I'm talking about. And so anytime we don't feel well, anytime we have a toxin, anytime we have an emotional upset, or even positive, it could be exciting, right? Like our bodies respond the same way if it's anxiety versus excitement. We just name it positive or negative. So people get out of alignment because they're having all of this external stuff and they're not spiritually aligned. They're not spiritually positioned and grounded, and they're letting all of this external part of being human impact.
Now, I'm dumb. Do Buddhists go to a church? I mean, there's a service. I know nothing.
Yep, we call it a temple. It's a little weird to me in the United States because of our political and legal system and the identification of spiritual communities, and so all of the nonprofit laws and regulations, right? So essentially it's a church like any other tradition, and we do have a service, and in the temple that I go to, we have chanting and meditation, and I would call it a lecture because I'm an academic. It's like a lecture, it's like a sermon.
Now, are you still an attorney? You used to be an attorney, correct?
I am an attorney, yeah. Okay. I am a licensed attorney. I'm working for a nonprofit these days, so I don't have a private practice anymore, but yep. It's all really weird to think about the near-death experience and then the law.
Two different sides of the brain there, I think, isn't it? So I'm curious. So is there like this a statue of Buddha, and that's what like
yeah.
Christians think of God? Is that what they? I mean, do you pray to it? Is this someone you just worship? I mean,
I would say that our statue there, and there's many visual versions of the Buddha, many different lines of Buddhism, just like Christianity. And so, yeah, sure, there's lots of statues. We have them, but it's an artistic expression. We don't pray to a statue, but we would use it as an alignment, like Catholics would use a rosary.
okay.
Catholics would go and bow and in respect to pictures of Mary or statues of Jesus, So it's an artistic representation that helps ground and helps guide, but it's not. There's no magical power to it or anything like that.
Well, I guess some religion's better than no religion, because atheist is kind of like no religion, right?
Yeah, atheists don't believe in any higher power. I don't know that I would say that Buddhism is a religion. I would say that it's a philosophical perspective that is more spiritual than religious. Like, we don't have rules, but we do have explanations about achieving what we call nirvana, which I think Christians would say would be getting into heaven. So total peace and harmony and total alignment. I mean, I think we're all talking about the same thing in different ways.
Huh. So there is a desire to do good and go to heaven in Buddhism?
The desire is to achieve peace.
Achieve peace.
Mm-hmm. And you're not going to achieve peace if you're lying and harming people. That can't possibly, that kind of negative energy can't possibly create a peacefulness within an individual human. People may say it does. I lied and I feel better because I got what I wanted. But at the end of the day, that's going to come back. That's how karma works. That's going to come back. If you put that out there, the negative energy will find its way back to you. And that's not peaceful.
Now, growing up in an atheist household, what did they teach? I mean, is it still like you should still be a good person?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
still ethics. I mean, we still believed in philosophical ethics and morality, and why would you want to harm somebody? Even if it benefits you, why would you harm someone? Because your place is no more important than anybody else's place. We just didn't believe that we needed to do it for the purpose of an afterlife, or that we needed to do it for the purpose of pleasing a higher power. It was just do the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Kind of like for humanity's sake or something?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Because some atheists I talk to, all I get from them is they just hate the whole idea of God. And that's as far as I get. I don't get anything else. Is that it? Is there any rule?
Yeah, no, definitely. I have some friends that are more, they would be upset if I said this, but rabid in the denial of space for other belief systems. Even, again, I'm sort of landing in the middle now between atheism and monotheistic religions.
What's that?
Well, monotheistic meaning like Christian, where there's
one okay.
God.
I never heard that word before.
Oh, yeah, meaning one God. Oh, whereas there are some religions that believe there are multiple gods.
Oh.
I don't believe in multiple. I don't believe in gods. I believe in one, that we're all a part of it. That we're all God. We're all one little piece of God energy that is practicing individuality, practicing creating difference. Because in heaven, what you would call heaven, we're all one. We return to the home. We return to the whole. But, there are definitely some really radical atheists, and there are really radical Christians, and really radical Muslims, and really radical Jews, and so I'm in the middle. We can all get along.
Yeah, and I think you can replace the word radical with hateful. There's hateful Christians, there's hateful atheists, there's hateful probably Buddhists too. It's just if you're hateful, no matter what you are or aren't.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So
So
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get off topic. It just struck my interest.
it's good. That's good. It's a gift. You know, it's definitely a gift. It has made pre-NDE traumas make a whole heck of a lot more sense. And it's allowed me to move beyond the things that get us stuck in human trauma. And you know, like I am way more resilient now than I was before the NDE. Way more resilient. I have no fear. Sometimes I have no fear to the point that I'm putting myself in danger, which, you know, I've had to really work on that. I'm super trusting of people, and like characteristics of any individual are not going to hold me back from being in a position of help. If that's where I'm at in that circumstance, then I know clearly my role is to be helpful, not hurtful, not contributing to stigma, not contributing to, you know, hate.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, that's not always safe. I work with in the work that I do these days, it's people that a lot of society would say are unworthy of help. People committing crimes, people high on a variety of drugs, you know. So it doesn't scare me, and it doesn't make me feel judgmental. It makes me feel compassionate.
Yeah.
And
I've seen that where I've worked too, you know, or whether it's a prison or children's services or mental hospital or a hospital. I mean, just everywhere there's judgment attitudes come across when we're not going to help them because XYZ.
Right. It's our job to punish.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's hard sometimes for me to work in the law where we have rules and punishments and consequences, because I don't know that it's necessarily our role to impose that, because at the end of the day, if you put bad stuff out, bad stuff's going to come back to you. I don't need to add to it. If you murder someone, there will be bad consequences to you in your human life. We don't need other humans to pile anything on.
Right, exactly.
Except for that we've all agreed to be a part of society, and society operates on law. So that's how I walk that line.
Yeah, I was always the rare one that was able to sit down and talk to someone kindly, say just killed their wife, just killed their children, just kidnap, rape, whatever. Because they're going to get their punishment. That's regardless. I don't need to be hateful.
Right.
I mean, because they know what they did.
Yeah.
And they know, as you know, how it is.
Yeah.
And I was really good at getting confessions. And I think that's why. Is because I just was nice to them.
Yeah. It's a matter of unconditional love. It is a matter of unconditional love. And if you can't afford the love for someone else, even in their worst, how can you afford that love for yourself in your worst? That's unconditional love.
Yeah. And a few times on here I brought up the case. I don't remember the lady's name, but I'm sure you may remember the guy come in to do a school shooting, and the secretary got talking to him and say, as a person, hey, we've all had bad days, and he ended up putting his guns down and nobody got hurt. And I'm like, that is just an example right there of how we all should strive to be, I think.
I agree. Yes.
Because we all win.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that we didn't get to cover? I know I kept interrupting you, going off topic.
I feel like it's a blessing, which isn't really necessarily something that a Buddhist would. I mean, that's not really part of our nomenclature, but I recognize that many, many, many viewers are associated with that word. So I do think that it's a blessing, and I have zero fear of death. It's so. There was a period of time where I was definitely suicidal, not because I was, had a brain injury and had some difference in thought, but because what I had experienced was so incredible and so warm and accepting. And I knew that there was not a single thing that I could do in this lifetime that would jeopardize that, that I wanted to go back. And then I looked at my life living with a brain injury and having to recover from that. And that was a whole nother struggle. Oh, that's no joke. That I just felt like, why am I wasting my energy and time in this human life when I know it's so great to not be in the human life? And it's Buddhism that turned that thinking around. And I think that was really rational, totally rationally suicidal. I think that's normal. I think that makes a lot of sense. But what turned it around was this idea that we continue to incarnate into human life and learn the same lessons. We go through the same patterns until we learn the spiritual lessons of universal truth, like unconditional love and compassion, and we're all one and we all are worthy. And so if I didn't achieve it in this life, I knew I would be reborn into a whole new life. So it made me want to maximize this gift of being, reborn post NDE into this body and into these circumstances. So, for what that's worth, I think a lot of people with brain injuries often contemplate suicide. And I think that people with NDEs, potentially, there's a high incidence of people that contemplate suicide. And I think that it's normal. I think it's a big enough life shift that it makes a lot of sense, especially if your NDE was very positive. And I recognize some people have some that are very traumatic. But I think this life is worth living. And I think there's a lot to be done in every lifetime. I also know I'm likely to be reborn because,
Have you thought about what it is you're supposed to be teaching?
I
feel that way.
Yeah, right. So I listened to that and I went and I taught at a college at a master's level. And, I've done teaching now. I've experienced that, and that's not right. I think I'm supposed to be teaching through example. I think I'm supposed to be taking the hits that living life throws at you. And I think that I'm supposed to be getting up and going about the day and still being me authentically in an engaged way with compassion and love, despite all of the craziness that goes on around me. I think I'm supposed to be here teaching by example.
I won't bring it up because you didn't, but I'll say it in this way. Do you think because this was an elective surgery that you would need to maybe inform other women that this could happen or that this happened to you, or maybe you don't feel that way about it?
That's a very compelling question. So for the viewers here, I tested positive for the BRCA2 genetic mutation, so it's breast and ovarian cancer, and I did choose to have a total hysterectomy and a bilateral mastectomy with reconstructive surgery. And I did choose that. And I do think that from a medical ethics standpoint, women should be given a lot more time and care in informed consent processes. It never dawned on me, ever. You hear there can be problems with anesthesia, accidents can happen, things happen in surgeries, but you really do not believe that it can happen to you. And I'm an attorney. I know what informed consent is. And I know that my providers went through that process as they're legally required to do. And I'm saying those legal standards aren't good enough, at least in my experience. So I do think people should know. I think people should be given a lot more opportunity to think through the choices that they make. I would not, to me, the risk was worth it because the outcome is so incredible. I'm not sure that the risk is worth it for everyone. I think that what I've had to endure as a result of that experience is huge. And I'm not really sure how I get up and do it every day. I just know that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So,
because this was an 18-hour surgery that you bled out, correct?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I just thought when I was listening to it, another video you was on, I thought, my gosh, what's the odds of, say, a woman finds out she has cancer, then gets the mastectomy, then gets the reconstructive versus this?
Yeah, right. Obviously, I'm supposed to be having really big challenges and overcoming those challenges. And that makes sense with the idea that I'm supposed to be teaching by example. I mean, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do with that. I could, and there was time when I didn't have the cognitive capacity to choose to be in a good mood. Like I was in so much pain that I couldn't even get out of bed. I couldn't consume any nutrients. I was nauseous all the time. I I mean,
And you had, was it brain, what is it? I want to say scarring. What's that word? Brain
lesions. I have
lesion.
15 lesions that are just randomly in my brain. And so like every part of your brain function was impacted for me. And it took some creativity on the part of some naturopaths actually to be able to link into that neuroplasticity and teach me how to reteach my brain.
It's crazy what you went through.
Yeah.
Have you wrote a book?
I keep threatening to.
Because I mean, that's like public information's needed right there.
Sure.
I think.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said at the beginning of our conversation, it's hard for me. There's so much and so many little rabbit holes you can go down that I don't know what people want to know. I don't know where to start. I don't know what's compelling or not. So I love the opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, that's why I wrote my memoir. I just started my earliest memory and I just went through and I just threw everything out there and people got out of it what they did. And
yeah.
Because there's so many different, I mean, you take a long life, there's so many different, because I had child abuse and I had, kidnap and rape, and I had, getting married young as a homeless pregnant teenager, and then I had a second NDE at 25, ectopic pregnancy, and like I was told there would be 5% chance of tubal pregnancy. I mean, I don't know what your chances, if they even told you any, but it is 5% chance to a pregnancy. They said every woman has 5% chance naturally. This gives you another 5. So I had 10% chance. Okay. And I, right off the bat, I was pregnant for twins and I died of a tubal pregnancy. It ruptured and they said it was the biggest tubal pregnancy ever seen. I mean, I had internal bleeding throughout my entire abdominal chest. I mean, I was a goner. And, so, part of my story was, anybody thinking about getting their tubes tied and then getting them reversed, research that percentage of tubal pregnancy better, because that stuff can kill you, and it does kill women. It's people think, oh, I get my tubes reversed and I can have more children. They regret their decision getting their tubes tied. And what they don't realize is women die of tubal pregnancies. You get scarring in that tube from surgery, and you could be dead. And you froze. So I'm guessing you're going to log back in. There you are. You're back. You froze there for a minute.
I think that's better. I don't see Western medical providers at all anymore. I had really incredible care. My surgeons were great. I don't have any complaints about them. It's what happened in the medical community after that. I won't go to Western medicine. I mean, like, I guess if I'm in a car accident, sure, take me to the hospital and put the thing on my leg, whatever. But I don't see Western medical providers for regular care. I see Chinese medicine providers. I use herbs. I don't use any pharmaceuticals.
I don't trust them either.
It's too much, because for 7 years, the brain injury was not diagnosed. I was essentially medically gaslit into believing that I had a psychiatric condition, which is fine, no judgment, except for that they were providing prescription medications designed for purposes that were not happening in my brain. So it made things worse, and it masked the brain injury. And I just spiraled out of control.
Do you still have the pain?
I do, but I manage it. I live with pain, and it's just a part of.
I mean, because you had so much happen after your surgery, trying to get back to normal, and you're still not back to normal. And I mean, and I don't know if it's, if it could save one other woman from going down that road, maybe taking her chances with getting cancer. I don't know if that's the answer.
And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, had I had breast or ovarian cancer, I don't know. Maybe the chemo would have caused the brain injury. I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, unlike mine too, women have tubal pregnancies that's never had tubal reversals and any surgery on their tubes too. So endometriosis or whatever, just bad luck
Right.
happened to develop there. So
I just,
I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything I missed or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
All right. Well, I hope you write a book. I'd love to read it.
All right, well, I'll send you a copy when it's done.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.